brought a desk into my bedroom. I lived in a rather seedy part of London with a college friend, and we each had a bedroom, so I had sort of like a bed sitting room, so I had my bed on one side of the room, a desk on the other side, and I started this little business. And I went to my mother, who had a few pennies left over from my education fund, and she gave me money to make a down payment on a car. And this was my car. This isn't the Mini Cooper you may be familiar with. This is the original Morris Mini. Very simple car, very simple engine, simple interior. The cheapest car you could buy. So this was my car. And at weekends, I travelled around the country, colleges, meet with social secretary, buy them a beer, and persuade them that they should allow me to organise their entertainment. And what I told them was, I can help you with the college politics that you have to deal with because I understand that. I can get you the bands that you want, and I can get them cheaper than you can. They didn't think I could do that, but I knew that the agents quoted a higher price to colleges than they do to commercial promoters, and I was always able to persuade them to give them the bands through me for less money. So the colleges I spoke to were very happy with this, and I began to develop a list of colleges who booked their bands through me. And after a year, I realized I was making enough money from the 5% commissions that I was getting from the dates to give up my day job. And this was something that was forced on me anyway, because the people I worked for had recognized that I was spending half my day in their office booking bands into colleges. And so eventually they said to me, Terry, we like you, we like your work, but we pay you for 8 hours a day, not 4. So you're going to have to either work for us full-time or in your business full-time. So I had to make a choice, and this was a big decision for me. I had no idea how big the computer business was going to become, but I knew it was a good business, and I knew that it presented a solid financial future for me. And I liked the work. I just didn't love it. But I loved the music business. Even on bad days, I couldn't wait to get into the office. I liked it so much. But I knew I'd never make any money. There wasn't any money in the music business in the 60s. But I decided that the most important thing in my life was that I should get up every morning and love what I was doing. So I made the decision to choose money, love over money, and I gave up my day job and went full-time in my business. And I had a competitor, a guy called Chris Wright, who was doing the same thing as I was out of Manchester, booking bands into colleges. I was strong in the south of England, he was strong in the north of England, and we kind of fought it out in the middle of the country. We met, we liked each other, and we decided that we'd be better off working together. So he moved to London, and now there were 2 of us working in my bedroom. He didn't have anywhere to live, so he slept on the floor. And this is where I lived, where at the time, very seedy part of London. This is Blondie Road, my bedroom's on the left. And that's where we were. So this was the beginning of Chrysalis. 2 kids just out of college, working in a bedroom in a seedy part of London, one of them sleeping on the floor. But we sent out a flyer to all the colleges in England announcing our new business. And between my clients, Chris's clients, and the new clients that we got from our flyer, we were immediately incredibly busy. The phones were jumping off the hook, and we had to, straight away, we had to go out and hire 2 people. We hired another social secretary as a booker, Roxy he was called, and a wonderful woman called Dawn Ralston who came in to answer the phones and type contracts and generally take care of us. And we called ourselves the Ellis Wright Agency. And we quickly found that we had something that I'd never had when I was with my Jethro. We had power. Because we controlled the booking of bands into dozens of colleges around the country. And we were giving so much work to bands, the bands began to come to us and ask us to represent them. So we started to build up a roster of small blues bands, many of whom became big blues bands. And then we had our breakthrough. We'd moved from my bedroom to a tiny little office, an attic office in the middle of London. And one day, the door burst open, and in walked this huge guy, like a huge white, like this tall, fat, great big beard. "Hello, boys! My name's Peter Grant. Our man is Jeff Beck." Now, Jeff Beck was already a rock god. Eric Clapton was the first guitarist in the Yardbirds. When Eric left, Jeff joined the Yardbirds, and then Jeff left and formed his own band. And we got a lot of bookings for Jeff. I mean, he was perfect for our clubs, for our colleges. So Peter said, "I've got Jeff with Harold Davison. He's the biggest agent in England. He's Frank Sinatra's agent. But he ain't doing nothing for Jeff. All Jeff's work is coming from you guys. So why don't I take Jeff from Harold and give him to you?" Well, I mean, we were gobsmacked. I mean, a couple of kids just out of college got a funky little agency. All of a sudden, a famous manager walks through the door and presents us with a rock god. What do you say? Well, thank you. So we took on, we became Jeff Beck's agent, and we did a great job for Jeff. Jeff had a great band. That's Jeff in the front. His drummer was Ainsley Dunbar. His bass player was called Ron Wood. And his singer is that man again, Rod Stewart. So he had a good band, and we did a great job for Jeff. So soon after, Peter comes back in the office. "Hello, boys. You're doing a great job for Jeff. I got a new band, and I got a new band for you. I manage the Yardbirds. The Yardbirds are going to retire, but they've got a new guitarist in the Yardbirds, and he doesn't want to retire. He wants to carry on. So he's made a deal with the other guys. He's going to form a new group, and they're going to be called the New Yardbirds. And I want you to be the agent." Wow, I mean, this is great. I mean, the Yardbirds were just a famous group. The New Yardbirds sounded good. Peter was the manager. So we started booking dates for the New Yardbirds. We hadn't seen the band, so we didn't know that they sounded like this. "This is the best thing we've ever heard, but you've got to change that name." So they changed their name from the New Yardbirds to Led Zeppelin. But their first dates, as you can see here, were all played. This is Surrey University, one of our colleges. Were all played as the New Yardbirds featuring Jimmy Page. So here we are. We've been in business for a year, and all of a sudden we've become agents for what was to become the biggest rock and roll band in the world. It's pretty heady stuff. But this was a time of change in the British music industry. We were going from a period of the late 50s, early 60s, where the record companies were pumping out records by pre-packaged pop, you know, pretty boys and girls in nice suits and short haircuts and singing inoffensive little ditties. And we were moving to a period where the musicality of the artist was more important. The lyric content, the messages of the artist's songs were more important. And the stage performance of the artist was more important. And that, in England, that was called the progressive music movement. And we were very involved with that movement. And we began to attract more of the better young artists of that movement to our agency. We changed our name to Chrysalis. And soon we had an interesting roster of artists that we represented. And at the time, the thing which was really popular in the clubs in England was blues. And all of these bands started playing blues in English clubs. And there was a great demand for new blues bands, and we didn't have enough to supply the demand. So at one point we helped put a band together. We introduced a guitarist and drummer from London to a singer and bass player from Manchester, and they formed a group together. And they asked us to give them a name, so we called them Jethro Tull. And they started playing clubs, and they did great. You know, they were a little different from the other blues groups. They were theatrical. And after a while, the leader of Jethro Tull and Anderson approached me and asked me if I would become their manager. Now, becoming Jethro Tull's manager turned out to be a pivotal point in my career, in fact, a pivotal point in my life. Chris, my partner, was also managing. He managed a group called 10 Years After. Now, becoming managers was a completely different mindset from being an agent. You know, these young men were people whose only wish was to get on the stage and play music. And when we met them, their greatest ambition was to make enough money doing that to give up their day job and become professional musicians. And we could do that for them as agents, but as managers we had a different perspective, and we took them on as clients because we really believed that these two acts were something special, that had enormous potential. Not only were they great musicians, but